Hello, my name is Hillary Colyer, State Park Interpreter here at Mount Tamalpais State Park in the beautiful California Bay Area. And I am here to talk to you about something you see a lot of behind me right now, something very important: water. Now, of course, we all know water is essential to life. But did you know that when you are recreating outdoors, that water can be both your best friend and your worst enemy? First, let's talk about the one that you probably have a better understanding of, how water is your best friend. Now, as I said before, water is of course essential to life, and even more so when you are recreating outdoors. It is absolutely essential to stay properly hydrated when you are recreating outdoors, no matter what activity you might be enjoying. Of course, on Mount Tamalpais, we have a variety of trails for a variety of outdoor recreation. But for all of those, it is very important that you drink enough water. We have a variety of habitats here on Mount Tamalpais, and the plants and animals that live in these various habitats have their own ways of getting that oh so important water. Most of the plants you're seeing on these hillsides here are adapted to drought conditions, so they can make the most of what little water they find. And below us, in the lower elevations here, in the what we call the fog belt, are redwood forests. Now, redwoods have a very unique adaptation to take advantage of limited water supplies. They can get water from fog. Water in the fog condenses on the leaves and branches of the redwood trees and drips down to moisten the soil where the roots are. And of course, all the animals that live here can get water from the streams and puddles, or they might get it from their food. But you and I are another story. We can't get water from fog, and it's not usually a good idea for us to drink water from the streams, but it is essential that we have enough water with us when we recreate outdoors. And how much water we need depends on the activity we're doing. So, of course, if you are moving fast, working hard, doing a steep hike or a trail run or a vigorous cycling or mountain biking activity, you're going to need a lot more water because you are breathing faster. And of course, a lot of water comes out when you breathe, and you're probably sweating too. So you're losing a lot of water when you're active, even if it's not that hot outside. So if you're engaged in vigorous activity, it's very important to have more water with you than you think you need. Other factors that influence how much water you need when you are recreating outdoors, of course, temperature. If it is very hot outside, you will need more water. And also humidity. In a humid area like the Bay Area, you don't have to drink as much water, especially when it's cool outside. But in very dry areas, like in the desert or in the Sierra Nevada mountain range, you're going to need a lot more water because you're losing a lot more to the air. So think about the activity you're going to be engaging in. Think about how fast you plan to move. Think about what the weather's like. Take a look at that weather forecast. Do your homework, do your research before you head out. Look at a forecast and see what the weather has in store for you, and plan your water supply accordingly. Also, take a look at your planned hike. See how far it is. Check that distance. Check how much climbing you'll be doing, so you know how hard you'll be working. That will also help you plan how much water you need to bring with you. So if you do all your homework and you make all these careful preparations, there should be no reason you can't have an enjoyable, safe time not getting dehydrated in the outdoors. That's, how water is your best friend. But how about for how water can be your worst enemy? How can that happen? Well, that has to do with the other reason you need to do your homework and research weather and also trail conditions, because water, if it gets all over you, can definitely be your worst enemy. There is a condition called hypothermia. That is when your body has run out of energy and is losing heat faster than it can produce it. And when that happens, your body starts shutting down. Of course, you probably know the first signs of hypothermia, that is shivering. But of course, if you already know about hypothermia, you're thinking, well, doesn't that happen in the snow or, when it's freezing outside? Well, when you are very wet, like when you've been sweating a whole lot, or you've fallen in water, or you've been out in the rain all day and you're just soaked through, you can start getting hypothermia at temperatures as low as 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And if it's a windy day, well, of course, with wind chill, it doesn't even have to be that cold. So it is very important to keep water from becoming your worst enemy, to prepare appropriately. There are many things you can do to prepare for wet weather. One thing is not to go out in it. But sometimes we get wet weather or wet conditions we don't expect. So some very important preparations we can take are in what we pack. So even if we're not necessarily expecting rain, it can be a very good idea to pack some rain gear. Now, you could carry an umbrella and that might help keep you dry if it's just sprinkling. But if we're moving for a long time in wet weather, you're going to want a rain jacket on top and rain pants on bottom. Now, both of these articles, if you spend a lot of money, they're going to be pretty lightweight and pretty compact to fit easily in your bag. If you don't have a lot of money, a good poncho that covers you for a whole lot of your body can do a lot to keep you dry and keep you healthy when you're outdoors in wet conditions. And they can usually roll up, fold up pretty small to fit in your pack, and they're pretty lightweight too. So it's a good idea to carry these around. Whatever weather I am expecting on a hike, I carry these with me. Short hikes, long hikes, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. It's also important when we're going out to plan appropriately in what we wear. If we think we might sweat a lot, but it's going to be cool at our destination or somewhere along the way on our hike or mountain bike ride or cycling or run, well, what we wear can be important too. And it can also help if we've forgotten or decided not to pack rain gear if it's raining, or a towel to dry ourselves off if we get wet. So clothing options are also very important. A lot of clothing, if it gets wet, is going to just make you colder. It is not going to help you keep warm. It's going to increase how quickly you lose body heat. So there are a few fabrics, a few materials that won't do that, and it's a good idea to invest in those items. Now, a lot of the time, I wear wool under my clothing. Wool, while it can be itchy and it can smell funny, and it can be expensive if it's very good quality, and takes a lot of taking care of, it does have superpowers as far as clothing goes. Wool will keep you warm even when it is wet. So it can maintain about 20 to 30% of its warmth keeping properties if it gets wet. So if you get rained on, you fall in a creek, and it's cold out there, you can keep wool on because it will still help keep you warm. Fabrics like cotton especially, so your trusty flannel and jeans, they're not a good choice for outdoor activity if you're going to be out for a long time, especially if there's a chance you will be getting wet, because cotton especially will just make you colder when it's wet, and then you'll have to just take all of that off. Now, as I said, wool can be very expensive, so another option, not as breathable, I find it a little more stifling, but also having that oh so important superpower of keeping you warm even when wet, is polyester fleece. Now, unlike a wool inner that's going to be next to your skin and could be a little itchy, a fleece you can take on and off and can be a handy thing to tie around your waist or just carry in your backpack just in case. And yeah, they'll keep you nice and warm even if it's a little damp. And polyester fleece also tends to be fairly lightweight, so pretty easy to carry around. And once again, it's something that's good to have and not need than to need and not have in your pack. Other things to keep in mind when you're outdoors are that you're also going to be walking in a lot of water. You can research to try and find out if there's a lot of stream crossing you're going to be hiking across, or if it's been raining a lot recently so that the trails might be wet, or if there's melting snow. Melting snow is another big thing that can add a lot of moisture to your experience, and it's very important that you prepare appropriately with good footwear. So shoes with some waterproofing will keep your feet dry, and also that waterproofing only lasts so long, so it's a good idea to have wool or wool blend socks to keep your feet warm. And I also like to carry a pair of extra socks in a Ziploc baggie or in a grocery bag, good waterproofing on those, to have just in case my feet get wet. So, good preparations, doing your research on weather and trail conditions, and making good choices in clothing and gear can make sure that water doesn't become your enemy when you're outdoors, and keeps the water as just your best friend, your hydration buddy that takes care of you on your outdoor adventure. So just keep in mind when you are heading to the outdoors that part of recreating responsibly is planning ahead. Do plan ahead and make sure that you are ready to stay dry and warm and stay well hydrated. So no dehydration, no hypothermia, and you can have an excellent outdoor adventure at a place like Mount Tamalpais State Park. The city definitely looks much better from here, I think. Anyway, I hope you have a lot of fun outdoors. Stay well and stay safe, and maybe I'll see you here sometime.